Welcome back, Beaver Nation, to a special edition, Beaver Roundtable style edition of the Beaver Sports Show. Joining me once again, as always, is my talented colleague, Alex Crawford, and filling in for Johnny Motomochi is Kazra Azizian. The baseball team had their season end this past weekend in Baton Rouge as they dropped 2 games to the LSU Tigers. Coming up, we'll break down our thoughts on the baseball team's season.
OSU men's golfer Nick Sherwood qualified for the U.S. Open on Tuesday. We're going to talk about how far we think he can go, and we're going to discuss his remarkable accomplishment.
And we'll take a look back at some of the great moments in not only OSU athletics, but our own show as well.
You're watching the Beaver Sports Show. Stay tuned.
From the KBVR TV studio on the campus of Oregon State University, this is the Beaver Sports Show.
Welcome back to the Beaver Sports Show, and since it's the end of the year, we're going to have a special edition of the Beaver Roundtable. And guys, to start things off, the Beaver baseball team, we all know, had their season end this past weekend at LSU. But regardless, it was still a great season for Pat Casey's squad. They have a lot of talent coming back. Only 3 players got drafted in this year's Major League Baseball draft, and we don't know necessarily if they are going to go pro, except for the departing seniors. Right. But preseason early expectations for next year are this team could be a College World Series club going to Omaha. What do the Beavers need to do to ensure that happening for next year?
Well, Boon, I absolutely think that they are a definite choice to make it to Omaha next year. They look really good. It was definitely a heartbreaking loss out there. I thought it was reminiscent of that run where we lost all the games that we needed to lose and then won the rest of them to win. It was reminiscent of that, but we came up short. Upgrades, obviously, I think the bullpen, we've been talking about it all season, the relievers. But I think the biggest upgrade that we're going to get is the guys that are coming back next year. Guys that have been in this experience, been in this situation, they're not going to lose that game in the ninth. They're not going to lose that game in the bottom of the ninth inning.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely. And Tony Bryant, he really struggled towards the end of the year. He lost his job as the reliever. He actually didn't do too bad of a job in the regional when he was pressed into action. But I think he's going to bounce back. He's going to have a lot of motivation to do so, too. Alex, what do you think?
I think Kaz really hit the nail on the head there. The bullpen's huge, and they kind of started to figure it out there towards the end, although in their final loss of the season, they did blow the lead. But I think if the bullpen can kind of shore things up, become a more cohesive unit, that's huge. And guys like Michael Conforto coming back, Pac-12 Freshman of the Year. That guy is a stud. So him coming back, just all around, they're going to have to replace a do-it-all guy like Ryan Gordon. He's going to go pro. So replacing him, but it's not a huge hole to replace. I just think another year of experience under their belt, another year playing as a team, and they got a little taste of the postseason this year, a little taste last year as they went to the Super Regional last year, but then they lost a lot of guys. Yeah. So I just think experience is huge. I think Kaz hit all the nails right on the head.
With 40 wins, you're not going to have a hard time recruiting kids to come to your program. So we're going to be able to fill any kind of holes if people do choose to go to the draft. And so I'm looking really forward to next year.
And one of the interesting things about college baseball is that the incoming freshmen, they can also get drafted and they can decide to forego college and go pro. So it'll be interesting to see what Beaver incoming players that got drafted, do they decide to test the waters and go pro, or do they decide to enroll? It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, but that's definitely a great point. It's not going to be it's never hard to recruit to OSU for baseball, especially with the national championships, and you just know you're going to get the great coaching with Pat Casey.
I think picking this team to go to next year's team to go to Omaha is a great call. I think it's definitely in the cards, barring any major changes.
And I really like the point that you made about the experience. This Baton Rouge regional was a very tough regional for OSU. Going on the road with the record that they had, they kind of didn't have a whole lot of respect from the selection committee, and they really battled, and they probably should have won that Sunday's game. They had a lot of errors in that game, which really cost them in the end.
So I think if we're playing in any other regional, we're making it to the Super Regional. We'll still be playing baseball right now.
Definitely, I definitely agree. Well, this past Tuesday, men's golfer Nick Sherwood, former West Albany High School alum, along with me, qualified for the U.S. Open.
You qualified too?
I did not qualify, unfortunately. I wish. But he played a great round of golf. The playoff was phenomenal. our own Johnny Motomochi was his caddy, and certainly it's going to take an amazing effort from him to do even remotely well against this professional competition. But what impact does this have for not only OSU athletics, but specifically for like the men's golf team?
Well, I mean, I'm no golf expert. I really wish Johnny was here because, I mean, Johnny could give us the play-by-play, hole-by-hole, club-by-club breakdown. Yeah. But I think it's just great to have Oregon State athletics represented in such a major sporting event like the U.S. Open. It gets the name out there. Now, I don't know how recruiting works in the golf world, but I'm assuming that this is a big boost for recruiting. It's seeing a guy like, hey, this guy's an Oregon State Beaver. He's in the U.S. Open. Their team, we didn't do great in Pac-12s. We finished, what, 7th? Tied for 7th?
I believe 5th.
5th?
Yeah.
All right, somewhere in there. But to see a guy make the U.S. Open, then kids are like, hey, I want to come to OSU. It helps our program a lot. So I think it's just a huge positive. And who knows? I mean, anything can happen out there on the green. So.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was so sweet that the qualifier, he beat a duck, and so he's on his way. I think he's only the second Beaver to ever make it to the U.S. Open, which is pretty impressive. So obviously this is going to do great for the men's golf team. And honestly, at these kind of things, people really cheer and pull for these underdog guys. So you never know. I mean, it would be great if you could somehow miraculously make the cut, and I think that even that right there would be
an accomplishment
itself. So.
Well, certainly it's a dream come true for him. It's just a great story, great experience. Regardless of what happens, it is just a truly great experience. He'll come back with a lot of stories for sure.
One Beaver it's going to have a positive effect on is myself, because now I will watch golf for the first time ever. I've never watched professional golf, and I will.
Wow, I find that amazing.
It's boring.
Really? You've never watched professional golf?
When my grandpa's in the room, maybe. But now I'm going to turn on the U.S. Open. I'm going to tune in and watch that.
All right. Well, there are certainly many great moments for Oregon State athletics across both men's and women's sports. From Jared Cunningham's 7 points against Texas and that amazing 100-95 win to Chelsea Buckland's hat trick against Florida International. What are your guys' 3 top plays or 3 top sports stories for Oregon State this year?
All right, so I'm going to start mine off. Number 3, I'm going to say the OSU softball team. This is the best season they've had in 5 years, 36-23, set records for RBIs and runs. And I've been following them all season, and it's been really great to see how well they did. And they were good. They put up some good fights against Cal, the #1 team. And obviously they got stuck into another hard regional against Oklahoma, but great season for them. Number 2, I think one of the few highlights we saw out of football this year was Jordan Porter's punt return for a touchdown against UCLA. That really got us going, and it really was reminiscent of something of days of old, like, hey, this is what we need to be doing every play. And then I think, honestly, #1 play that I've seen my entire career at OSU was Saturday at the Beavers against the Ducks. Conforto, shoestring catch, hosing the guy out at home. Unbelievable. Place goes wild, beat the Ducks, and we ended up sweeping the Ducks. I got goosebumps watching that thing. I still get goosebumps watching that on YouTube. So those are my top 3 plays for the year.
All right.
Yeah, definitely a solid top 3. I got to go with number 3. I'm going to go with men's basketball's upset of UW in the Pac-12 tournament. No one saw that coming. It got the whole campus kind of excited talking about men's basketball. Did we end up losing the next game? Yes, but for a moment there, people were like, hey, the Beavers could do it. The Beavers could make the tourney, something that hasn't happened since 1990. Right. So, I mean, that was a huge moment, although it ended up being all for nothing.
A very short-lived
moment. But that one moment, there was that hope. I actually got really excited. I flew down to L.A. for the next game. Ended up kind of,
being a bad luck charm.
Yeah, maybe it was a bad luck charm, but it's nice to go home. Yeah. So that was a great moment. Number 2, I'm going to have to give it, such as you gave it to softball, I got to give it to men's wrestling for their whole season. Yep. That was great. Won the Pac-12, sent a lot of guys to NCAAs. That was just a great season overall. Jim Zaleski's chair's a little wobbly here. Jim Zaleski's a great head coach. So overall, that was just a huge season. And number 1, I got to give it to the entire day of November 19th. Dad's weekend, first of all. Oregon State football beats UW, one of our 3 wins of the season. Oregon State basketball beats Texas. Cunningham has 37 points. That's under that umbrella. It's also Kaz's birthday, so that's just a great day overall. I know that's kind of cheating, but November 19th was probably the best day of the year to be a Beaver, so I got to give it.
I really like that. That was a great one.
It's a great day.
Well, now we're going to show you highlights not only from Oregon State athletics this past season, but from our own show as well.
But I was really proud of our team and coaching staff. There's no doubt about it, you know, even though we hadn't had a win, there's no doubt this team from game 1 to today has improved every week.
To beat ASU and U of A. Game day! Woo!
Why are you excited?
To win!
Why are you excited?
Hometown swag. Go us!
I'm gonna score with my foot.
I know you're gonna dig this.
They just kept on giving it to me, and I just kept on going to work, and it was working, so they just kept on going with me. And I was playing guitar, so it was working.
Guys, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing super good. Really excited to work with you, Kaz, although you do look like a Middle Eastern doctor tonight, but I mean, respect.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Boon, for having me once more. And Crawford, I intend on disagreeing with every single point that you make tonight. So
bring it on,
here
baby.
we go. Here, I'll take this one, Boon. This is great for the Beavers. This gives them 10 days of extra practice and extra competition against some pretty good quality competition as well.
As much as I wish I could disagree with Kaz, I have to agree with him. I think this Europe trip is going to be great.
And Daniel Gomez, I'll tell you what, that guy's in some of my classes. He is huge.
Big dude.
Big.
I think Daniel Gomez is going to be an impact player next year, honestly.
Okay.
I really think he is. Don't sleep on him. It's a huge problem. Do I know what to do to fix it? No, but I mean, if you look at any, I'm going to compare him to a mate.
Dang it, I'm trying to find a way to disagree with you as well. But, I mean, this is just a relief pitcher, I think. The most basic thing that it comes down to is winning games.
Yes.
It sucks to say.
Yes.
It's
Welcome back, Beaver Nation, to another edition of the Beaver Sports Show, and it's certainly great to be back for another term. And joining me once again is my colleague, Alice Crawford, and new to the desk this term from the OSU men's golf team is Johnny Motomochi.
Boon, thanks for having me back. I'm really excited to be back on the show. Also excited to be working with a foreign student athlete like Johnny. Welcome to America, you Canuck. I'm just kidding now. Let's do that again. Let's do that again. You were just so pumped to say that.
The weekend sweep of Arkansas Pine Bluff in the books. The Beavers went up to Portland on Monday to play a makeup game against the non-conference Portland.
Friday, junior Desiree Beltran hit her 6th home run of the season, but it wasn't enough to overcome the Cardinal as the Beavs lost the game 8-4.
Now we'll get a spring football update straight from the horse's mouth.
The Oregon State baseball team returned to the diamond this weekend after picking up 2 midweek wins against the Nevada Wolfpack.
With a quality start, as he pitched 6 1/3 innings, giving up 7 hits and allowing 0 runs, which paves the Beavers to a 5
on Friday, and depending on the result, we'll play either LSU or Louisiana Monroe in the winners or losers bracket.
Oh, yeah, the guy just killed it. I mean, he did deserve to win Pac-12 Player of the Year, and I'm glad to see that he did get Freshman of the Year. I don't think he's going to be affected by the pressure of the postseason. I think he'll step up to the plate. I don't think Oregon State as a team will be rattled in the postseason.
The women's rowing team took on the 16th ranked Washington State Kruger this past weekend at Wawawe Landing on the Snake River.
The Oregon State women's rowing team traveled to Paloma, Washington to face the fierce Cougars of Washington State.
The Lady Beavs had an outstanding night this evening. Join us next week.
The State men's soccer team, fresh off a heartbreaking loss to 8th-ranked UCLA, traveled to the Bay Area this past weekend to battle California and Stanford in Pac-12 Conference League play.
But as the team found out this past weekend, putting has to be at its best to have another chance at hoisting the tournament's trophy.
The best basketball game of all time, with our two hosts, Boon Kruger and Alex Crawford, going mano a mano with teammates. We're about to witness something great. We're here with one of my main man, Alex Crawford, today. Alex, how you gonna get this W?
Just teamwork. Me and Kyle play a lot together. Plus Kyle's just, his back's heavy, he carries the load.
And Crawford starts out of the game with a miss. Matt quickly follows with a miss of his own. Then Kyle Hart pulls up and misses. Next is Boon's chance. He does the same. But then Kyle Hart goes down with a knee injury that looks like he's going to be sidelined for the rest of the game. But just like Paul Pierce did against the Lakers in 2008 NBA Championship, Kyle Hart came back with a vengeance, nailing 3 after 3. Boon continued to match him, hitting his own 3, but Kyle Hart was just too much, hitting from every angle. Boon tried to keep up with 3s of his own. In the middle of the game, Boon caught fire, hitting 3 3-pointers in a row, but even this wasn't enough to get his team over the hump. Every time Boon and Matt got close, Crawford would either answer or Kyle with a shot of their own, and Kyle Hart and Alex Crawford were just too much for Boon and Matt to handle on this day. What's the next step for you? Are you just going to quit?
Nope, never quit. Never give up. Got to keep going back at it. We'll be out here early tomorrow morning practicing, get ready for the next game. Got to bounce back.
Well, you guys haven't won a game yet, so you sure you don't want to quit?
Yeah, I'm sure. I got a contract.
Got a contract. Back to you guys.
Well, it's that time of the show. It's a final goodbye for me. I'm leaving. I'm graduating from Oregon State. But before we go, Alex, I'd like to thank you for hosting the show with me all year. Kazra, for coming on so many times. It's been great doing the show with you. And also Johnny Motomochi, who couldn't be here tonight due to a previous obligation. And to everyone who's been on the show this year and in past years, to Audrey Wiltz, who's co-produced the show, and to Rick Stella, who produced the show with me the previous 2 years. And for one final time, I'm Boon Kruger. Hope you have a great night, and I hope you tune in next year to another great year for the Beaver Sports Show.